Hey everybody, this is the OMAD Dad, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that is dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle or eating one meal a day. Well, today in this post, I wanted to switch things up a little bit, and I want to do a book review of a book that is health related, that is one of my favorites of all time. It's why I chose it to be the first book that I reviewed on this channel, and that is Out by T.S. Wiley, Sugar, Sleep, and Survival. I'll give you a little synopsis about this book. The thesis that the authors come to is that the root cause of all of our health problems in modern society today came and started with the invention of the light bulb. Now, it might seem a little bit of a stretch, but I'm going to try and make some connections here really quick. Our ancient ancestors, when we lived out in nature, we had to survive, and we had to live by the cycles of the sun and moon. In other words, take for example during the summer, the days were longer and the nights were shorter. That gave us more time to go hunting, fishing, foraging, and during the summer, especially the peak time in summer when harvest season is coming, when everything is in bloom, there's more food available, we would go out and we would eat all that we could. We would stuff ourselves, and we know from science today that eating this way, especially a lot of extra carbohydrates, would cause our insulin levels to go up so that we could store fat. Now, this was beneficial to our survival because after the summer, we all know, as it does today, comes winter. In winter, living out in the wild like we did, there was a lot of days that were very lean. There wasn't as much food available. A lot of the, once harvest season kind of ended, a lot of the fruits and vegetables and things that we could get seasonally sort of ceased to exist. So we really struggled to find days where we would get enough food to really kind of sustain us. So having that extra padding and that extra fat on us was what we needed on those lean days of the winter to get us through and to survive. You got to admit, the human body is an amazing design. How we would go through in a yearly cycle, we would go through periods of time when we consumed a lot of carbohydrates, and we would gain a little bit of weight and extra fat, and then we would switch over in the winter to more of a high-fat diet, low carbohydrate, because carbohydrates weren't naturally available to us at the time when we're in the wild, and we would have more of a high-fat diet. And on the days where we just couldn't get any food together, we survived by living off of our fat stores. And then come spring, the whole cycle would start over again, and we'd get ready to, take benefit of all of the crops and the harvest of the season that was to come. Well, with our modern society and the invention of the light bulb and now the smartphones and the hues of the TV, we're up all hours of the day and night. And what this does is it sends a signal to our brain in our DNA that it is summer and we have to go into fat storage mode because inevitably winter will be coming. So this is why so many people easily crave carbohydrates on such a deep level. It's why so many people who are on a low-carb diet just have a tough time going low-carb and sticking with it. This is why we tend to gain weight easily, and we just can't seem to shake it off. Or some of us tend to overeat a little bit. We do this because, at a biological level, we are in a state of summertime, which means we're in fat storage mode. And when winter doesn't come, we just keep storing extra fat, and our insulin levels stay high, which leads eventually to insulin sensitivity, and it can go as far as metabolic syndrome, heart disease, cancers, you name it. So the thesis of this book is that we're creating an artificial environment for ourselves in our modern society that is telling our body on a deep biological level to store fat. Another thing, insulin isn't the only topic of this book either. They go into deep discussion too about some of your other hormones and how all of this extra artificial light that we have in our lives affects them. Hormones like serotonin, melatonin, cortisol, all of these affect your weight, and along with other aspects of your health. Now, I know you're probably thinking, you're saying, okay, so what are you suggesting, OMAD Dad? Are you suggesting we get rid of all of our light bulbs and maybe go to bed seasonally, like during the winter time, and go to bed at 4:30 in the afternoon? No, I don't think that's ever going to take effect, and that's ever going to become mainstream anytime soon. And it's just not practical for all of us. I will say, though, that the author gives some really good recommendations in this book on how we can use this information to help us and use it to get a better grip on our health. For one, we should eat seasonally and enjoy the fruits of the harvest when they're readily available, apples and tomatoes. And when you get these in August, September, maybe beginning of October, when they are at their peak, they taste the best that it is anyway. And after that, they're with our modern society, we can get food pretty much 24/7 now, even in some of the most remote areas of this country. All right, so that doesn't necessarily mean we have to eat 24/7. And we grow, thanks to globalization, we can grow food in other parts of the world and have it shipped over here. And it's great. It's allowed us to grow as a population to over 7 billion people on this planet. But, as you know, there are repercussions for that too. There's extra pollution, there's damage to our ecosystem, and it's damaging our health. So in one sense, you have something good, but you also have something negative that's associated with all of this. And so to sum it up kind of briefly, the author gives a few recommendations and tips on how you can use this information and help it improve your life. And as I was saying, eating these fruits and vegetables that are in season, eat them when they're in season, and eat them when they're available. And when they're not, in other words, towards the winter, switch to more of a low carbohydrate diet of around 25 to 45 grams of carbohydrates a day. Again, on the OMAD plan, there's really no rules as far as what you eat, but one of the things that make OMAD work so well is the fact that eating once a day and kind of connecting with the way our ancient ancestors would probably have eaten, it allows us to lower our insulin levels throughout most of the day. It allows us to get our hormones back on track and working, and to reduce inflammation in our body. And there's a lot of health benefits other than just taking a few pounds off to eating OMAD. So for those who are kind of interested in it, in pursuing some of this, they do recommend going low carbohydrate, at least for the winter months of the year. And then when these foods are readily available in season, mostly at your local farmers markets, or better yet, even something from your backyard that you've grown in your garden, that's when you can readily enjoy them. And we're going back and forth between this cycle. But one of the biggest benefits I got from this book is that the advice that you should turn your bedroom into a sleep sanctuary. That means no extra lights on, no hue from the TV, from your phone. Draw the shades, draw the curtains, make it as dark as you can. They recommend, it's a really funny quote in the book, sleep every night for as long as you can without getting fired or divorced. So in other words, you have to get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep a night. Aim for a minimum of 7, but more towards 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and a little bit more if you could even swing it too. Again, these signals tell our body that it's no longer summer and that we no longer need to store fat. And again, storing fat was a useful tool for us when we were living out in the wild, because we were able in the winter to access that stored fat and to use it and dispose of it properly. In our modern society, because we keep eating, because of all of this extra light, the way our lives are shaped, we just keep storing fat. We have all of this fuel in us, and we never switch over to using the alternative fuel. So as a result, we develop other health problems, and there are a ton of health problems associated with having those extra pounds on you. And so that is addressed in this book. And again, there's a bunch more recommendations in this book on how to kind of better your life, but I just thought it was just such a deep connection. And while the book doesn't mention OMAD specifically, you can kind of tell that having these periods of not eating is definitely the way our ancient ancestors would have eaten. And it gives us time to lower our insulin levels. It gives us time to kind of ease our digestive system, and there's a lot of health benefits to it. And again, I don't make any money off of these books. I don't sell anything. I have no websites at all. I'm not in bed with Amazon, but I recommend, if you can find Lights Out by T.S. Wiley, probably get it through Amazon or some other local bookstore. It's worth picking up and getting a read. It really changed my perspective on a lot of things. I know I'm guilty of staying up late at all hours of the night and being on the phone, being on my iPad, watching TV, and then you pay for it the next day because you wake up in the morning, you're exhausted, and what's the first thing you do? You reach for that caffeine, you reach for sugar, you reach for quick carbohydrates that you can get you some energy and get you going, because that's just the way our life is. And all of that extra stress just does a number on your system, and all the excess carbohydrates without getting accessing any of that stored fuel, as I said before. So this is going to be it for me for my post today. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I hope you got something of this. I really do recommend this book. Please go and check it out. You're going to love it. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the like button as well. And if you want, you can message me and join the official OMAD Dad Facebook group page, where I have a lot more content, a lot more articles, and I post pictures of what I'm eating and what some of my meals are, and we can talk directly one-on-one if there's any issues and concerns you have, especially if you're starting OMAD for the first time, or if you're in OMAD and you're having some problems with it. So that is it for me today. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you soon.